Welcome in, troops, to another podcast episode. This one I'm extra buzzing about, which I seem to say at the start of every episode. And the main reason for that is because the people that I usually bring on are individuals that I know pretty damn well, either just through my personal network, whether it's through YNL, or even the last episode, Dean, where I literally went to school with a guy, which is pretty fucking insane. But this guest, Liam, is a client of ours at YNL, known him for quite some time now, seen him fucking crush. I've seen him go from just being solo, basically bagging balls in the boot, from a football coaching perspective, to now building out a team, and some of the things he's implemented recently as well have been fucking class, to the point that you were able to literally schedule this podcast in with 1 day's notice and be here. I don't know if that would have been the case when you were just solo, but I think it's pretty fucking nuts. But yeah, Liam runs a football coaching business, has done for how many years?
7 or 8 years now, actually.
Quite some time.
Yeah, first 4 or 5, just me, but I.
And alongside that, you manage Musselburgh.
Yes.
Yeah, which for anyone that isn't proper in it, like Scottish football, like tier, like do you want to kind of run through that as well?
So we are one below the Loans League, so
Okay.
2 below the sort of professional game for your League 2 and that, which people count. If you play League 2 or manage League 2, you'll count yourself as a professional part-time player. We are 2 below that, top of the league just now, doing well. So I'm hoping to try and get in that Loan League and then even further.
100%, bro. I guess the first question, because a lot of people struggle, especially when they're coming into business, they'll probably maybe balance some sort of job, whereas for yourself, it's not really a job, but at the same time, it maybe feels like a job at times. But like, you're not necessarily doing it to be paid. Your business is making more than enough for you to be like full time there. But yeah, I guess like, how are you balancing that, and also why are you doing it?
I think the reality is, Tiff, and I've said this a few times, that if this was 3 years ago, I couldn't actually have taken the Musselburgh gig, because I would have been, the amount of time it spends away from the business, I couldn't afford it to do that.
Yeah.
There's no way actually I could afford it to do that. But lucky now with the team that we've got, that I can. I think lucky enough, probably the biggest thing I've had over the last year is knowing how to manage it.
Yeah.
But I think probably got to a spell where I let Musselburgh take over it a little bit. And I felt like I was in my office, and I think I spent about 2 hours, and I hadn't even contemplated technical edge. I was just phone call, dealing with watching a game back, try to sign this player, that player. And I actually had a realisation. I thought, right, I need to get better at balancing things out.
Yeah.
So I don't know what my car radio is, because every time I'm in the car, I'm on, that's my football time. I try and sort my calls out, but it's 2 full-time jobs, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's 2 full-time jobs if you try and do it properly. And we pride ourselves on that. But the fact that both football probably makes it does combine the two a lot easier in terms of like people I speak to. It's almost split conversations at times of business and the management.
So I think it was a couple of things we spoke about on here is like, you have your golden goose, i.e. the business that is the primary focus, and then you have around it this kind of wheelhouse where you're able to plug things into this wheelhouse, and ultimately in order for it to plug into the wheelhouse, it needs to be similar, whether it's similar industry or similar knowledge that's required. And I guess that's what makes it, like, for example, if I was running a football managing gig, it'd be a fucking shit show, bro. It'd be an absolute shit show. Whereas you've played football at a really high level growing up, you run a football coaching business, and you're literally managing. Like, they all kind of plug in very well together, innit?
They do. And the similarities in terms of, the similarities are probably even bigger than I thought they were going to be, because it's so much. It's just managing people, eh? And you kind of relate it to, sometimes I might lose a rag with them, but majority of the time I don't lose a rag with my players, because I wouldn't do that in my business.
Yeah.
If things didn't go right with one of my members of staff, I wouldn't start shouting a ball at them.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Of course, there's times at half time I've kicked a few tactics boards and whatever, but I try and refrain from that, because I don't think that's not somebody to get the best out of me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times I speak to Wayne, or my assistant, and I'll go, right, I've actually had similar problems in the business and I've dealt with it this way, so this is how I'm going to deal with it. And I think 9 times out of 10, speaking to somebody like this is the way to go and deal with things. You don't need to go and shout and ball. And I think the similarities in terms of staff and my players is probably actually even bigger than I thought it was going to be, and it's helped a lot.
So interesting you say that, because I've had this conversation. I still speak to Gino, Josh and Ellie quite a lot, like pretty much daily.
Yeah.
And the amount of shit in politics and football, man, I'm like, I reckon from a man management perspective, I'd be fucking 10x better than some of these like managers in there. Obviously, I'm not actually in there, but from some of the stories I hear of them fucking like going behind players' back, speaking to them like they're a piece of shit, pretend they don't even exist. Then 1 minute they score a goal off the back of being a sub, and it's like they're the best thing since hot shit. It's like the like your kind of like mentality towards it, mate. Like, I fucking love that shit, because I think it's something that, yeah, you don't really, from what I've heard, mate, like the football side of things can be really fucking gruesome, man, in terms of like how you're treated both as a player, but also even being a manager as well. It can be the vice versa, right?
I think people just sort of call it, oh, it's just football. And that almost gives people a right to go and say and do what they want because, that's just football.
Yeah.
And of course it's different. There is differences to general life, but at the same time, you need to go and play to your strengths. And I've not got the respect in terms of playing career that other managers would have. So I need to find a different avenue, and that's trying to treat people as well as you can in terms of trying to be correct. And that's just being honest.
Yeah.
I'd like to think if you spoke to MD that works for me or plays for me, they say he's honest. If you do well, you'll be told you've done well. If things aren't correct, you'll be told that. And there's no need to jump from 0 to 100 and go off your head mental to somebody when you can have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I think that you're right that in terms of football, you hear some horror stories about is people's livelihoods.
Yeah.
And the difference, like you're saying about players, you need to try and treat them all correct. It's like, oh, he's a golden boy just now because he's playing every week. And then, well, no ball with these ones. And then something happens there and you're like, oh, fuck, I need these guys to come in and play. I think as long as you treat these guys with respect and you say, I'm making this call for this reason, they might not agree with it, but I think as long as they understand, and that's kind of what I kind of live by that. You don't need to agree with me as long as you can go away going, Liam has said this reason or said this for this reason. I don't agree with it, but I can see where he's coming from. He's not just when, fuck it, I'm just going to do that because of that. It's like, no, there's always a reason behind it. But you're right, some of the stories, if you like, in football that you hear. And it's people's livelihood, and you see people criticising going, he's went to this team, to that team for the money and that. And you go, well, you would do the same.
Yeah.
If it was your job and somebody goes, you're on 50 grand a year, or I can get you 80 doing the same job, you go, 20 minutes up the road, you'll go, I think I'll take the 80 grand a year job. And I think a lot of people say, well, even if I don't want 80 grand a year job, I'll use that to try and play off the 50 grand to try and get up there. The similarities are huge, but it's almost like a different rule book at times for the old football.
100%, bro. I guess what I'm curious about, mate, is like, what does I mean, we could do the kind of both parts, like when you were just running it solo to like team, like, we'll start with just now, like, what does your kind of like day-to-day or week actually look like, balancing both?
I think I'm getting good at it. I think I'm getting a lot better than what I used to be. And to say the biggest thing for me is just routine, and just in general, not even just football business, but just in general life. When I feel my life's actually boring and I'm doing the same thing every day, that's when I'm at my most productive. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's the weekends are working and doing everything properly. That's when I know I'm at my best. So it'll generally be, I'm the most boring man in the world. I think I just go gym, office, football pitch, and I repeat that Monday to Friday. On a Saturday morning. On the Saturday morning, it's probably a little bit of work stuff in the morning, but more just phone calls. And then I try and get that's my supper's time. That's when I should be earning my money on a Saturday. We'll go for a joint breakfast with the coaches, and then we'll go to the game. And then Sunday's always some sort of work related. I've actually been getting the habit of, after speaking to you, trying to use my Sunday to almost not necessarily work, but try and actually plan the week. So right on the Sunday, you don't need to do these tasks, but at least I know tomorrow onwards I need to do X, Y, and Z. And I think when I do that, that's not my best. And if I do things like going out on a Saturday night and that throws me off a wee bit, that's knowing I'm at my best. So as day-to-day routines is the most important.
100%. I love that, mate. I love the kind of like boring, like, I guess, comment on it, because if I'm even reflecting on like when I'm at my best, it's when I've even recognised that like last 2 months I've not really been in Discord chilling with the boys in the evening. I've not really been like really doing anything apart from getting up, working, sleeping, and gym. Like that's pretty much it. And I think it's something that like even when you are fully maxing out your effort and doing everything that you possibly can, you get home at like, for me, I got home yesterday at fucking 7:30, and I was fucked. I'm fucked at 7:30.
Because you're up at 2:30, that's fine.
Liam actually said to me, call it stairs, he reckons I just take a photo and then hop back in bed.
Thanks for daft.
Yeah, fucking that time.
I'm going to start trying. I'm going to tag in the gym at 5 o'clock and go back to my bed.
But yeah, that kind of routine piece, mate, I love that, mate. And I think it's something that it's interesting. I had this call with Jude Fredman yesterday, who runs a brand, Die Without Regrets. He's been posting a lot of content on there. Scaled it to like 430,000 followers in 6 months, which is fucking mental. And I had a conversation with him, and he was like, mate, literally, like, in every week of life, he was referring to content. Like, if you can get one style of content, you just put as many hours as possible into that style, and you double down it until the point that you start to get virality. And then from there, you just need to do more of it. Like, it sounds boring and tedious, but it literally is that. You fucking work your arse off to fine-tune this style. you then start to create a level of virality. Then it's just about volume. And like, breaking that down to me was like, in something like the content game, sounds boring as fuck. But ultimately, that's how these guys are doing it.
I think it's one that people say about even the gym and that you never regret a workout because you'll get something done. It's almost the same with your business. You might have some days where you're tired or you're not quite feeling at it. But if you sit down on Monday and think, I've kind of fucked about my phone, or I've done this, and I've answered a phone call I probably didn't need to answer, but you've still done something.
Yep.
So even if you're 0.5% closer, even if you've answered a couple of important emails or tidied things up, you're still in a better place than what you would be if you weren't doing something.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? It's trying to get that as focused as possible, just day to day. Like I actually remember, so we coach every Tuesday. I do a small group, and it's Tom Kitchen, the chef.
Yep.
So he was, and it's usually just drops the kids off. So he was there. I thought, I'm going to get a good chat with him. Really nice guy. I said, oh, what are you doing tonight? Is that you done for the day? And he looked at me as if I was daft and went, no, I'm away to work. I thought, listen, Tom, you're a multi-millionaire, but I just thought you'd be chilling.
Yeah.
And you just had boys working. He's like, how many days a week are you? And he just went, 7. As if to say, of course I'm 7. I was like, fucking hell. Like, if that's him, who's the size that he is, like, down at my level, like, I have got no right to go and take a couple of days off to do nothing. Like, he is day to day. He is literally cooking every single day. And I thought, that's probably why where he is.
Yeah, because I think I was going to ask you, like, with your routine being so dialed and like literally every single day. I mean, the impression I'm getting is like if you take any sort of day off, it's like a half day on a Sunday. What's the kind of like why behind everything that you're doing?
It's a difficult one because I think it's probably changed there. Probably, I think it was very, and not in a negative way, but I think when I first started, it was probably quite materialistic in terms I had my goals about, by this age, I want this, I want that. It's certainly not that now. My goals are completely different in terms of why I want to do things. And I have the sort of, the money goals I want because I want to do certain things in my life that I'm open about. And then there's a side of things where you go, I've started that with a bag of balls. Yeah. You know what I mean? I started it on a train, bag of balls, absolutely nothing. And then you think, well, you might look back when you're 40 and go, it went from there and it went from there, and it's something that you're proud of, and it might be something that I can go and hand over to a kid that might sell it one day. I might hand over to my kids, but it's something you can go, right, you've done something, you've done something in your life. And I think a lot of time I probably define my life on how good I am at those things, which people say is wrong maybe, but I don't think it is. No. I think people define their life in different ways, and I think I'm at my best when I'm working, because a lot of time it doesn't feel like work, it's enjoyment. There's very, very few days where I think I really, really can't be bothered today. Yeah. And I think when you're in the routine, those days get less and less and less. It's only when you come off your path a wee bit, then you're like, fuck, right, I need to get back on it. If you never come off your path to begin with, you've never really got that. You just can't go, as I say, just day to day, boring stuff, compound effect, if you like, and it just adds up.
Facts, bro. What did you do before Technical Edge?
Before Technical Edge, it was different. As I say, when I left school, I got asked to leave school when I was 16, and I started working with cover coaching because I'd done it as a kid. My dad went, look, you're no sad about doing fuck all. Like, you need to do something. Yeah. And he's like, you're not going to work in an office. He's like, I know you're not going to work in an office. So find out what you want to do. But until then, speak to Joe Jones, your old coach. Here's his number. Go and speak to him. Ask to volunteer at some sessions. I thought, I may as well. Yeah. People my age are working in Tesco's or whatever. And I thought, right, okay, I'll give it a try. And then just done more and more and more. And then I ended up loving it. And I just kind of fell in love with coaching. Managed to get into Hibs, which I thought was a dream. Hibs support us since the day I was born. Academy coach at Hibs, and then kind of thought, right, this is what I want to do. I want to try and do the dream of going from under 11s to under 18s and be an academy coach. Yep. And then you get a wee bit older, you realise that the money's probably not the best in that. And I remember speaking to my dad about it. He's like, if you want to earn money and if that's what you want to do, 9 times out of 10, the people who earn the most money is the ones that go and do it themselves and go and work for themselves. Yep. So I literally just started doing one-to-ones on the side after that. And then actually before COVID was a big turning point where I actually left Hibs to concentrate on the business. I think a lot of people probably thought it was COVID, but it was just before that. Nice. And I just thought, I'm giving up 3 nights probably, when I'm at Hibs from 5 till maybe 8. Stayed in Pullman at the time, all the way to East Mains. Like, it's literally my full day. I'm having to leave at like sort of mid-afternoon, 3 times a week. I'm like, I can't go and compete with people. Like I look at Goldie and that, and other people, they will be 7 days a week in the business, and I'm going, I can't possibly be that. I'm given 3 days during the week and a Saturday, 2 Hibs. So I'm thinking, I had nobody working for me at the time. It was just me. And I kind of just got, the reason was I just got a calculator and I thought, right, I earn this much from Hibs. I can make that in one night. I could get myself to Pinky and I can go and do 2 1-to-1s. I can go and do a team session and I've almost earned my Hibs wage. And I thought, right, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. Left Hibs. I think if you asked a lot of people now, even family, I think at the time they said, what you're doing, you know what I mean? Your dream was to try and get your way through, do that. And I thought, nah, I'm going to take a risk. And I was so lucky because I was taking a risk with no expenses. Stayed at home, didn't even have a car at the time, had 0 expenses coming out. I thought if there's ever a time to go and do it, I can do it. And I worked with, before I started up my own, I worked with somebody and Chris was maybe 40, taxi driver. And I'm like, look, even then I probably did have a bit of business brain, like, right, you need to do this and that. And he's like, aye, but if I go and do that, Liam, I'm earning this much, I could do the taxis and I could then double that in a night. And I was like, but if you don't do that, you'll never get to that stage. And he's like, Liam, I've got a wife and 2 kids. He's like, I need to look at it day by day, month by month. I've got a mortgage. And I was like, that was almost a bit to me. I was like, right, if I'm going to make the jump, I need to go and do it now. Because if I get to a point where I hear a lot of people say, you know, you need to save up so many months before you're going to start up on your own, my expenditures were absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So it was a time to do it, and best thing I've ever done.
100%, mate. It reminds me of like when I was saying my mum and I took the leap from uni to just do like streaming full time, the gaming stuff, when I was like 19. Like I remember I came down, I had $1,500 saved up for my student loan, and my mum was like, I basically was like, I want to do this thing. Like it's 1.2k for a PC. Like I'm going to be like left with nothing. And she was like, well, you're here. Everything's covered. All you need to do is just buy your own food. That was the only rule that mum had, like, buy your own food. So she didn't want to fucking be coming in with food shops, like fucking five bags, buy your own fucking food. And I was like, cool. Like I literally just full sent it, and I went, first month $200, second month $300, and third month $2,000 I made. And I was like, fuck man, like I can actually make this work. But I remember thinking back, like if I had mortgage, kids and all, like would I have done that? Probably
no
not.
Chance. No chance. And there's so many people. I know a guy works in the alarm industry, Bobby Gain, he said the same. He eventually made the jump, started on his own, like an absolute grafter, a guy. And I spoke to him on the phone last week. He's like, Bunzy, I wish I'd done it years ago. And to be honest, like every sort of person I spoke to who started up their own business, they all had that same message. When I wish I'd done it years ago. I wish I'd done it years ago. So I was like, well, if I can start this at 19, 20, if I can go and start it now, then even if because I knew I was going to make mistakes, especially when I started, I'm not a businessman. I had no idea what I was doing. But I thought, well, if you just keep grafting, you'll learn across the way about what you're doing. And probably COVID was that time, where COVID was, I was busy myself. Aidan, who works with us full time now, Aidan was maybe doing like 2 hours a week, something like that. And it was COVID, and it was a month of doing nothing. And I was like, I'm skint. Realising that there's £0 coming out or in my bank account, so I was absolutely fine. But the second we got the all clear to go and start working, I was 1-to-1s every day, and that's just when the graph started. And that was probably the point in my head where I got things into reading, podcasts and all that, which I would have laughed at before. I'm not doing that. Fucking listening to that. I think it was like, what would it have been? I think it was like the High Performance podcast sort of came out around that time, and just because I had that sort of football element, I thought I listened to football ones, I seen other ones, I thought I'll give it a try. Gave it a try, and my mindset probably did change to go, right, well, you are where you are. If you keep doing, you're going to earn yourself a good living. But if you want to make it as a business, you need to go and do something a bit different. And I just maxed out my hours. I think I took Sunday off, Monday to Saturday, 6 or 7 a day, and then got full. And then as I got full, I thought, I'm not going to send them away, and just went, look, Aidan, what about the ones that I can't do? Do you want to do it? We'll charge this much. This will be the cut. And I started from there. And now I've maybe got 10, 12 guys that are all on the same deal as that.
What's the like? Where was like the lead flow coming from? Was it just word of mouth? Was it just people like what? How did it build up? Probably
very different, because I got a lot of my Hibs guys. Leonard Park was the first one. Born Leonard's 2005, first ever Hibs team. His dad said, look, he wants to be a bit extra. And I just bullshitted then. I was like, I do 1-to-1s. I was like, I've done them for last year. And he's like, oh, do you? I was like, nah. I was like, I'm fucking honestly, that night I was straight on. I got these fucking Nike balls that weren't even the right shape, like rugby balls. And I was like, nah, I do. And I thought, I fucking better buy some equipment. I think after I bought the stuff, I was like, I need to get these cheap, shitty balls. I had about 150 quid. And done that, and he was my first one.
Yeah.
And then literally it was probably just word of mouth and no Facebook page, none of that. It probably even took me a few months to even post my own Facebook page because I was a bit like, I'm not wanting to be one of those guys that people are like, oh, fuck off, busy. You know what I mean? So it probably took me a few months, and it probably just started off with just a camera in my hand, like me doing the drill, and something that if my coaches even thought about doing now, I'd go off my head.
Yeah.
But just started that and just gradually got Hibs boys, word of mouth, and then used more on Facebook a wee bit, and just got more and more from there.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I think like the football space, like the credibility that's built through having professional players that come to you for extra coaching, and then
Massive,
like amateur players or even just players like younger players that come through the academy. It's like, well, if he's working with a Hibs boy, then like obviously he's going to be able to provide value to me.
Aye, definitely. And that was almost a mindset change as well. We got a few guys in to start where they're basically like, look, come and give us a hand, basically. You know, come and give me a hand. And it's actually one of the lads that plays for me now, Matthew Knox, who plays for Muswell now, but he was down as an absolute worldie when he was 16. He was Man United, Arsenal, the lot.
Yep.
And through a friend, I was like, Knox, do you want to do a session? I'll just film it. And he's like, aye, of course. And it started with that. And then maybe I still remember actually social media after posting that and just all these followers, and did get messages. And I was like, fucking hell, because people are like, oh, if he coaches him, he must be decent.
Yeah.
And then eventually you get guys like Hibs boys and that, they're actually coming speaking to the guys now, get in touch with us and look, I'm wanting a bit over pre-season.
Yeah.
And it's almost a mindset change where it's like, it only felt 5 minutes ago. I was the one that was messaging them being like, look, I just need some content, any chance. And they're like, nah, like I want to do it.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely want to come in. And we've done a session in the summer, which is loads, and it was like 15 guys that all play like professional.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking hell. I'm like, they're not actually here to take a video. They're actually here because they want to try and get better.
Did you ever go through like a kind of imposter syndrome period during that time? Or,
Aye, massively. Aye.
Yeah.
Massively.
How did you overcome that?
Good self-talk, probably. That's probably it. Genuinely, just everything that people probably think, oh, confident, good at what he does, and that's not what I was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's your self-talk every day. I think you can talk yourself into anything. If you're not confident, if you keep telling yourself you're good at something, you will sooner or later believe it. In the same way as people I think are shit hot at what they do.
Yeah.
Poor self-talk, put themselves down, they're not going to achieve anything.
100%, mate. I literally had this before I headed here, I had a coaching call with 11 other the young lads in YNL, and it was like first problem that got put in the chat was negative self-talk and just like feeling this weight all the time of like judgment and just negativity. And it was so interesting like unpacking it. Like the first thing I said was like, who else experiences the same? And it was like fucking every single hand. And I'm like, it's mentally common, especially in the beginning, mate, because it's like you're saying, the imposter syndrome piece and a lot of different components where you're basically constantly being told that you're not good enough by yourself, which is pretty fucking difficult to overcome, especially in the early stages when you're maybe like you don't have as much life experience or you've not got as much proof. Like I literally had to, I think there was a carousel I put up recently where like my proof was Call of Duty. Like I was nuts at COD, and I was like, well, if I'm nuts at COD, I can be nuts in business. And to so many people, that'll be fucking delusional, mate. But like, how is that even any remotely like correlated? Like that was literally the belief system I brought into business, and it served me fucking tremendously.
It's meant I had it even here. Maybe not so much the podcast today because you've also had some big hitters. I've got a lot more money in the bank than me. But when we had that dinner on the Friday in Glasgow, and I was like, fucking hell, like I have no idea like what to like. I didn't do stuff like this. And I thought, right, I'm going to actually need to put myself out my comfort zone. Yeah. And actually talk about stuff that maybe isn't actually football. And I thought, am I going to hold a conversation here business wise? First time I sat down, terrible name, sorry, but he's like, so what'd you do? Blah, blah. And I was like, what'd you do? And he's like, I own this properties, this gym. And I was like, fucking hell. I was like, and he's like, what about you? I was like, I say, man. I was like, but he's brand new. And he's like that. Because in my head, I'm thinking, fucking hell, like, what's he want to talk to me about mines for? But in his head, he's probably thinking, well, 29, Liam, he might have been not doing that at 29.
Yeah.
And he's like, 29, that's actually fucking really impressive.
Yeah.
And I think that's actually one of the biggest things is the understanding that it's all right to feel like that.
Yeah.
And probably one of the biggest things I've tried to do in my life now, where obviously joining you guys, and that is, you can't be the biggest fish.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the people in a like my pal group or people I speak to that go, oh, Liam's got this car, this watch, this much money. Like, no, like I want to be somewhere where people, I'm like, right, he's got a lot more than what I've got.
Yep.
And that'll just listen to people, and that will drag you up the way.
Yep.
Rather than being the main guy. You know what I mean? That's definitely the last thing I want. I want to be like-minded people that actually doing so-called better than you.
Yep.
And that's how you learn from it. It's almost accepting that people will shy away from that, going, well, nah, I'm what do you mean you want to be the dumbest in the room? Like, you can't do that. Like, protect your ego. It's like, nah. Like, but you'll never grow any better than that.
Yeah. No,
you know what I mean? That's the main focus just now.
Yeah, defos, bro. It's mad because when I actually looked back, like the maths I done for that dinner, I can't remember if there was a couple of that didn't make it to the dinner, but when I done the maths on roughly what I knew people were making, it was like 1.6 million a month.
Yeah.
That dinner. And I was like, even just thinking back to like 19-year-old John putting that together, but like, you wouldn't even believe that was even possible.
Nah, no chance.
And then you've got fucking all these lads that are also, the maddest thing I think about business as well is like you'll meet plenty of cunts that have got money that you would never spend a minute with because they're
100%.
not aligned with you at all. Whereas that was a room full of people that are killers but also really good fucking cunts.
Yeah.
That actually have good values, that genuinely want the best for everyone else around them. And that's you were probably chatting to Andrew McKee.
Yes.
Like, speaking to Andrew, it's like, mate, he is the most like genuine, down to earth guy.
Unbelievable.
It's like fucking, and you were sitting across with like Jordan Grant.
Yes,
I've had the most, like, that's the most positive feedback I've had from a podcast episode because he's so authentically positive.
Yes.
It's just him, just the way it shows up. But they've both got killer businesses, like fucking crushing it.
And you wouldn't think of speaking to him.
No.
And that's literally what you're wanting there.
Yeah.
And but even that dinner, there's so many different things that people are doing.
Yeah.
Property and gyms, and is it landscaping?
Yeah, it's like he's got like fucking tree surgery, landscaping, fucking garden maintenance. Mental.
It's mental, and I think you need to balance it. 'Cause I think sometimes it's important to almost do the opposite. You know what I mean? And I had to do a chat on Monday night. One of the first Windsor teams I took can't behave themselves these days. So I've had to go in and basically say, look, like, you're at this stage in your life, blah blah blah. If you want this, you want that, you need to work hard, you need to screw the nut. When people probably tried to do that with me when I was younger and I didn't listen to them. But it's easier when somebody a wee bit closer to your age is saying, look, I was at that stage, and you can go left, you can go right. The fine line of going left and right is fucking minute. People think it's massive different decisions, but it's no. And I think spending time with these guys, I was lucky because I was 18, 19, couldn't drive, which looking back was one of the best things. This guy, Stuart Turnut, been a family friend for years. Fantastic business. Kilgour Wealth Management. Fantastic business. So I'm in the car with him after football, and he's one of the boys you can get banter with him, brilliant lad. And then the phone goes, and it's whatever comes up in hands free. I'm like, right, look, I'll be quiet now. And he just goes and he just switches into a completely different person. And I'm like, fucking, we Stu's talking about this and that, and this money and this account and that. And I'm like, wow. And he goes hangs up, and he just goes and talks to you about the Hibs games. And you're actually looking at him going, Stu's got the big house, Stu's got the Rolex, Stu's got the big fancy Merc, and you're like, at the time I was like, well, I want that. He's like, well, you can have that if you want, but you need to fucking put the graft in. And even that, like at a young age, other people are probably spending time with people their own age and they're talking about different sort of stuff. I'm not even speaking to him, but I'm just listening to him on the phone. Say my dad and that run his own with a golf coach, and not even asking him, just listening to what he's saying to other people and going, fucking hell, like my dad's at the fucking US Open next week, and he's at the Masters, he's at this, he's that, and I'm like, wow, like there's no reason why you can't do it.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, what does your dad do? Because from my, like, even just what he said to you about the people, like, to say to you while you're at Hibs, which the majority of employee mentality individuals, that would be like the highest they can ever get. You're at a professional club, you're going to work your way up, you're then going to potentially become like a Hibs manager or something like that. Whereas for him to turn around and say to you, like, the people that make the most dough are the ones that do it themselves. Did he do golf coaching?
Similar journey in terms of he's not turned into a business, say, because he does it himself, because it's a wee bit different. It's very, like, the golf coaching is very niche. It's no many people turn into like one golf coach, like 10 guys working for him. It's not that. But he started at Polkemmet driving range, £20 an hour. And like when I say he started it, I actually remember him doing that. And then he's ended up in the European tour. You know what I mean? He used to come home with stuff like signed golf balls and that from Rory McIlroy, and I'm a kid and I'm obsessed with golf at the time. I'm like, where the fuck have you got this? He's like, because I was working with Stephen Gallagher and he played a practice round with Rory. I'm like, how the fuck are you calling him Rory? Like, I'm like, what's happening here? And he's a massive inspiration. And the similarities between his sort of stuff and mine's is massive. And I would say up until about 3-4 years ago, I was just always just taking stuff from him, like listening to what he was saying, because he's dealing with people. If you try and bullshit them, like you're done. If he tries to say when he was working with Stephen Gallagher, Bob McIntyre, Callum Hill, like if he's working with any of these boys and he says something that isn't right, like they are on him, being like, Dave, you're talking shite. That's not true. This and that. And the amount of times that people have sort of questioned it, and he just sticks to his beliefs, going, "No, that's what I think. I think you're making that mistake because of that." And I'm not going to change, because I think as soon as you then go and change and say, "Oh, it might not be that, it might be that," people are going, "Well, why did you say that one in the first place?" And then you're fucked. So I've taken so much, and then probably in the last, we have so many chats now, but it's almost 50-50. He's almost asking me about the muscular stuff and the business and that. He's like, "So how did you deal with that player? You know, he was always unhappy at coming off. Did you shout at him?" But no, I didn't shout at him. I spoke to him. It's like, if you didn't take that correct, the next time I'll probably shout at him. But it's like 50-50 conversations. But I've seen him go from that to then as high as you could go. I think he's done everything but the Ryder Cup in terms of golf.
Wow.
And I was lucky enough. I was a young lad on the range and that at the British Open and all that with Stephen Gallagher, Dubai with Robert McIntyre, and that unbelievable. And again, that's one when I do Dubai, maybe 23, 24, and even hanging around like these golfers and that, I'm like, business is going all right, making a few £100 a week and that, and then you go, fucking hell, these boys are playing for like 600 grand to finish in the top 10. They're doing this, they're doing that. You look around and you just see fucking, no, they wouldn't even wear a Rolex. You know what I mean? They've got about 500 grand sitting on their wrist, and you go, you think you're doing all right sometimes, then you go, there's levels.
No, 100%. It sets the bar, mate. And I think it sounds to me as well like your dad set the bar, as well as what was the guy's name from the
Stuart Turner.
Stuart Turner. Like, both of these lads are, like you're saying, the kind of switching components. Like, I can't remember what podcast I was listening to. Maybe the one with Layla Hormozi and Sharan, but Sharan was speaking about helping his daughter and also his boy from a business perspective now, trying to get them into business. And it's like, if the parts of how he's helping them is like, if he's in the car and someone phones, he'll take the call and let them listen in. And also as a part of him taking the call, it teaches him to be a better person, because he's not going to shout at someone if they're being a prick or whatever, because his son's sitting there. And it was like, it really got me thinking as well, because he's doing a unicorn business with his daughter, and it's like, he's actually taught her to set the cadence of the meeting, where it's like, he'll come in and she'll be like, "Daddy, you never sold enough of this through this lead generation process," or whatever. And it's like, she's like fucking 9 or some shit. And I'm like, that's actually the influence that you can genuinely have, like, is at a young age, if someone truly, I think it's the inspiration piece, because like you're inspired by your dad. And then as a result of that, like, it's aspirational. You want to be like him. You want to have a similar life. Whereas there's so many kids growing up that probably would have been just switched off to that shit.
I think there's 2 ways to do it. Like, even if again related to football, you hear about the stories of Rio Ferdinand, for instance. Rio Ferdinand was councillor of state in Peckham and is now a multi-millionaire, won everything that he possibly could have managed. One of the best centre halves, so like our generation's unbelievable. Came from absolutely nothing. And then you look at somebody like Frank Lampard, who definitely didn't come from nothing. His dad was a professional footballer, his uncle was a professional footballer, and a manager. Would have been a well-off family. There's 2 different ways to do it. You know what I mean? People think like you need that sort of hard upbringing where you look at it and go, I've started from nothing at all, I want to get to that. That's brilliant. And then you get to guys that are maybe actually going, well, I've actually got quite nice stuff. Like, I was spoiled as a kid. My mum and dad were far from rich, but averagely probably well off, nice enough house. And I thought, well, I got everything as a kid. So if I want to carry on having everything as a kid, or as an adult, and I want the nice things, I need to go and work for it. And the mindset now is probably getting a wee bit older, is right, well, if you want your kids to have the nice things and you want your missus not to work after the first kid and whatever, right, I need to fucking get back to work. And I can't take away thinking I'm actually settled where I am. Because if you settle now, you think I'm just going to maintain it, you'll just get less and less and less and less. Yeah,
mate, it's so interesting. I was just having this conversation with a young lad when I was driving home last night, in terms of like, money really does solve a lot of the, especially challenges around like partner, kids, maternity leave, all that sort of shit. And it's like, if you were making more than enough dosh to just semi-retire or fully retire if they wanted it, and just to like be able to look after the kids, like, what's going to enable them to do that is you having a business that can actually support it. And I think that's a big driving force. Like, I was chatting to Nick a couple of weeks back. Obviously, he's now announced that he's having a second kid towards the end of the year. And he literally messaged me and was like, I need X amount salary by September, non-negotiable. Ilsa's getting retired. We've got this gaff, 2 kids. And as a result, mate, he's in the office till 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, he's a fucking animal, man. Like you say to me about being up early, he takes the piss out of me, bro. Compared to like the actual amount of hours he puts in is fucking disgusting.
Well, he's helping us with the social stuff. So he's cost me a fucking fortune. He's told me to get. I was like, what do I need? And he's like, right, you want this drone, you want this camera, you want this mic. Send me it. I was like, fucking hell, Nick, that's $1,000, man. I'm like, fucking hell. I was like, right, I'll get it. Honestly, you should have seen me, Aidan, and Blair try work this fucking drone for the last week. Honestly, we got the hang up in the air eventually, and we started like celebrating. And I'm like, look. He's like, as soon as you play about with that, and he's like, then come and see me. So I've texted on Monday. So when can I pop up? And he's like, we come Friday? I'm like, mate, I'm in the same office as you. It's like, just pop up now. He's like, nah, I'm busy. He's like, I'm rammed all this week. I'm rammed all next week. Pop up next week. I'm like, right, sound die.
That's probably my fault with the Marbella retreat, to be fair, because he's lost a day on the Friday and a day on the Monday.
He's just back, he said.
Oh, mate. Because that was fucking, it was so funny. We got there on the Friday and it was like, I went to my room, put my kind of like stuff away, came out, Nick, laptop. And I'm like, mate, you're a fucking joke. And he's like, I've got a couple things I need to tie up, mate. Now I'd be able to just dial in. And then Sunday, we all went to the gym, came back on Sunday, and he's building out Jack Taylor's fucking full funnel for him. Because Jack was just like, I don't know where to start with. Like, I just need a starting point. By the time I came back for the gym, full funnel was built, ad scripts were written, VSL was written, and like Nick and Jack had just worked on it for 2-3 hours. And I was like to Jack, I was like, how much time does that save you? And he was like, mate, that would have took me like 6 weeks to do. Because he just doesn't know. It's like if you don't know what you don't know. So like for Nick to be able to sit and do it in a few hours, for me, it's probably similar. Whereas for someone that's never done something like that before, not done something of that like nature, it's like it could take them fucking weeks, man.
100%. It is. It's sort of spending time with those sort of people, and you're like doesn't. And that's why it is. It's like leave the ego at the door with stuff. And so I'm not hanging around to them because they're doing better than me. It's like no, like it's the opposite. Like hang around to them because in a year's time you might not even be where they are, but you'll not be worse off. Like, you'll be better liches, the people you hang around with. And it's like allowing yourself to not be a snob with it. And I've got my daft pals as well who want to talk about nonsense, which is brilliant. I think you need to switch off, but it's then knowing like when it's business time, when it's stuff I need to do, that you can speak to those people.
100%, mate. One of the things I wanted to unravel was, like you said before we started, this kind of like 2 parts where you were solo. We've kind of unraveled what that kind of solo piece looked like. One question on that, by the way, you said you didn't have a car. Are you hopping on trains with bags and balls?
Oh, I love telling this story. People, honestly, see it was a couple weeks ago. Somebody asked him that and Aidan went, oh, for fuck's sake, he's going to get the train story out again. I was like, I am. I was late driving. And again, see what it is? It's like, it's routine with me. And I got in the routine and no driving. And I had, like, my routine was terrible because I'm fucking spending a fortune and going here and there. But I got a routine and no driving. So I used to go Pullman to Haymarket, bag of balls, rucksack with my tripod and that in it, walk to Broughton High School, jump the fence, do my sessions. We'd normally get a lift back to if it was scrounge a lift off a parent back to the train station. And I had it to an absolute T between Haymarket and Pullman. I would literally have it to a T where I would have my whole video edited, hotspot it on my wee iPad, and I would have it on my Instagram by the time the train rocked up in Pullman.
That's class.
But even before that, I used to, when I worked at Lena Park, it was £20 cash an hour. The train was 12. You know what I mean? And people are like, what are you doing that for? I was like, well, because if I don't get one client, I wouldn't even call them a client. If I don't get one player, I'll not get 2 players, I'll not get 3. I was like, well, why would I not do it? I'm like, what else would I be doing my time? I remember saying that to him, like, what are you doing that for? I was like, what else would I be doing? Well, just stay in the house. I'm like, but even if I'm only earning £8, that might go somewhere. But I just that, and then even what tips and that, no driving. Used to get the train used to try and bump the train all the time. COVID was a good one. COVID used to go, hope you know from ScotRail's watching this, all the way to Musselburgh because they couldn't check your tickets. I'm like, I'm just going to single from like fucking Waverley to Haymarket, like 90p, because they can't check it during COVID days. I'm like, I'm saving money here. This is perfect.
The profit margins are through
the profit. That's exactly what it was. I'm like, profit margin. But you actually get to a point where you're getting a train there. I'm like, right, so I'm going to be £8 there, and I'm like, fucking starving. I'm like, a wrap's £4 there. I'm like, and I said, no, I can't afford the £4. I'm like, my profit's £4 a day. I'm like, nah, I'll get something in the house.
Yeah, I'll
Like,
farm it. Yeah.
I'm not paying £4. Man, that's what I done to again, man. And again, it was just routine, just pure routine. I looked at it when I started getting double up my hours and used to get that second client. I was like, that £20 cash is just pure profit because I've already made the expenses going there and back. But that's how the very, very first started. That sold.
And so like at what point were you full capacity? Like, how many hours were you doing when you were just full capacity yourself?
I would say, because mainly weekends, when I first started, there's mainly Hibs guys. And the problem, I feel like, with pro youth is they train 3 times a week, they play the weekend. They've not actually got loads and loads of time to go and do extra stuff.
Yeah.
So I would say it was a Sunday. I used to do a good 4 or 5 sessions on Sunday. That was like my busy time. And again, because Monday, Wednesday, Thursday I was at Hibs, couldn't do anything. Friday afternoon I'd try and do quite a few. But sometimes I turn up to Broughton to do it and there's a school game on. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna have to go home, like I never had any pitch hire, anything like that. But when I started getting my muscle Windsor, that helped a lot. Was using the pitches there, and it was just word of mouth. It was just very much word of mouth. It just got to grow and grow and grow. And I had the kids I used to see before would then travel to Musselburgh, and it's very much just grew from there. But limited social media, I would use my own Instagram and Facebook, but it's just word of mouth.
And what's the like when you were at full capacity, just you as a solo, how many hours did you say? 7 or 8 hours a day, or 7 or 8 sessions a day? You said it.
Probably. So I always break into Monday, Thursday the coaching. I would go 4 till 9 probably. I'll try and do a couple of 1-to-1s, and I would do the team sessions after that. And I would say I would do that Monday to Thursday. Friday was always a busy one. Kids are half day, so I would maybe go 1 till 9 maybe.
Yeah.
And I'd always do a Saturday morning, I'd always do a Sunday afternoon. And that was me that was my bit where I'm like, I remember thinking I was maxed out on maybe earning like £500 a week, whatever. I'm like, right, what did I do here?
Yeah.
I was like, because I'm working hard, I'm doing the right things, but unless I go and double my prices, I'm like, what do I now do to go from this stage to the next stage? And that I didn't realise until COVID, when I just thought, fuck, right, go and listen to stuff, go and try and turn it into a business.
Yeah.
By that was just pure graft. As many hours, there was literally no session I wouldn't have done. Somebody said, right, stay behind for an hour. I was like, 100%. Like, I'll stay. I'm not doing it in any way. I'll literally, but that helped as well. And I always say the fact no driving actually helped me. Yeah. Because I almost got known as fucking working hard. Yeah. So people be like, did I see you with a bag of balls walking from Walliford train station? I was like, aye. Like, aye, did I? I'm like, fucking, what'd you do that for? Aye. And they're like, right, that boy's got a bit of boot on me.
Yeah.
And then people within the club probably go, I actually didn't mind helping him,
Yeah.
Because he isn't a big time at all. He is literally travelling from here to there. So if he's putting his prices up a £5 an hour, like, he's got every right to. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like literally your whole day spent, and I would get there so early, I'd leave at like 1 o'clock in the afternoon for like a 4 o'clock start and that.
Yeah. It's fucking mental, bro. It kind of reminds me of like no wonder you like telling it, it's because it's kind of like Hormozy's story with the gyms, where he was like sleeping in the gym.
Aye.
Like he literally wouldn't go home because he couldn't afford rent, so he'd just stay in the gym, sleep on the floor. And it was literally like can't remember the exact routine, but he was like up at 4, he would take like classes, clean the gym, etc. Then it would be like he'd be on the floor PTing or actual selling to people coming in all the way till like whatever time at night, 9-10 o'clock at night. Then he'd do like invoicing, payments, etc. And then from 12 until 4 he'd sleep, and it was just this same like repeatable process.
And as well, because it's almost like we spoke at the start about routine. It was a different sort of routine, but that was literally that was my routine at the time. And I remember I said to somebody a few weeks, because it did come up a few weeks ago. I'm like, I miss it, and they're like, hi, very good. I'm like, nah, I genuinely do miss it at times because it was just simple, Yeah. I just used to, wouldn't have been podcasts, just used to put my earphones in, just listen to music or do phone calls or whatever on the train. Yeah. And it was so simple because I never had anything. I used to do my Hibs games on a Saturday morning, I used to do my Leith games on a Sunday afternoon. Yep. Was never going out or anything because I stayed Pullman area. You get into Edinburgh, I couldn't afford a taxi home. You know what I mean? So I wasn't going out, and it was just pure like routine of doing the right things. And that's the point now in my life where I'm always trying to get back to that and nail that down. My routine's just obviously slightly different, but still the same, doing the same stuff.
Definitely. Makes sense, bro, without a doubt. And in terms of that, like, first steps, so you said the first step was hiring Aiden and being like, I've not got any more capacity. Do you want to like take a few sessions? Like, how did that grow from that point to where it's at now?
Aiden's a poster boy for it in terms of like when we speak about, right, how do you get people? I'm like, how do I get people up to standard? You know, well, what did you do, Aiden? I was like, me and Aiden just worked. I was like, literally all the time. Like if I was working, Aiden was there. Like Aiden's capacity to work and that was unbelievable. We'd be like, oh, have you got 1-to-1 after this session? I was like, he's like, right, it's all right if I stay and watch. I was like, of course it is. Like, just feed the boys in, come in. Wouldn't get paid for it, obviously. But just pure work rate. And we just spent so much time together coaching that all my mannerisms and that, people say, because he works for us now at Muscle Athletic. And people just say, like, you're just a mini gaffer. Like his wee mannerisms and that, everyone he coaches, even the way he starts a drill, finishes a drill, it's like the same stuff. And he's as good as me. Like he is fucking, I can't believe I tell him not to watch this. Like he is shit hot.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable what he does, and he's the poster boy for it. And now it's almost like responsibility, Aiden, being like, right, how do the rest of them get up to the stand? Like the things I've done with you, because the best thing about him is he's a clean slate. Like he never coached before. So there's no bad habits. It was literally just coming and going, right, let's go with it. And he's grown so much within the business, and he'll get more and more. Like long term, he will get a percentage stake in the business because he's shown that he can not just, he's probably at the point where I was at a few years ago. It's like, right, you're coaching shit hot. Yeah. How do we get the other side in terms of running the business? Are you happy just doing like the manual day-to-day admin, or are you actually wanting to be the guy that comes to me with ideas going, right, we thought about this or that. If we do this, we could actually earn this much from the session, or what about going online? I'm happy to run with that. And I'm going, right, well, if we do that, like we'll make your deal better. You know what I mean, we'll give you a percentage because you're only as good as your staff, and he's literally, he has been perfect for us. And we wouldn't be where we are anywhere near it without how good he's been.
Yeah, that's unreal, bro. What age is he now?
Oh, early 20s, about 24, I think.
Nice. That's class, man. Because I think the whole moulding piece, like moulding them into what is like truly needed, I think it's interesting because obviously I've hired like 2 best mates technically come in, both of which had no experience in the role that I was like training them on. And I think the component, like if I look at Jack now, it's so funny, mate, because Jack now works from my office, so I'll be sitting on a call or I'll be like working on something, and I can hear how he's taking a very specific cadence in the sales call, and I'm like, he literally sounds like me, man. Like, he literally sounds like me, and I'm like, it's fucking class, because that's like what I always wanted. But thinking about how long it took to get here, like the one pro was that, like you said, it was a clean slate, didn't have any bad sales habits. He didn't have any, because my biggest worry with YNL was like vetting is a huge component. You can't bring on someone that we're not going to be able to serve. So like, and I value reputation so much. So it was like trying to like mold all these different fucking finer components of like, yeah, if someone wants to give you money, you don't take it unless we can help them. And he's like, what? Like, how does that even make sense? And maybe somebody else that was in like a car sales gig before would have been like, that's a lot of shite. Like I've done my job and sold them. Like, and it's so funny, mate, because you're bang on the money. Like when it's a clean slate, you're able to build the way that you want, albeit I guess the one cost is it takes you longer. Yeah. Whereas if you brought in someone that's maybe experienced, you would probably get them to a standard where they're making more money, like in a shorter time frame, but longevity wise, they'll probably top out. Whereas with like a Jack, for example, it's like literally from 0 to 10. And it's took us like what, a year and a half to.
I think you get loyalty back from that as well.
Yeah, 100%.
Like the ones that we've taken, I've just started. I've no doubt that somebody would love to tap up my staff tomorrow. But they've got loyalty where they go, well, nah, because I wouldn't be where I am just now without it. And even like you said there, we're actually the best we've probably ever, like we don't struggle with staff. I think that's the biggest thing. Speak to MD, like football coaching, there's only so many full-time jobs. Like unless you go into the schools, which we choose not to do because we're a different type of business, like you'll start at 4. So you'll start at 4 in the afternoon, you might finish at 9, 10 at night. At times it's unsocial, like you need to genuinely love it. But we're as strong as we've ever been as a coaching team. And see, whenever we've like put things out, LinkedIn, Instagram to try and get coaches, I can't really think of MD that we've really had. Like literally all the best guys we've got are people either that heard us or people that I've employed. Like I've employed 2 of my pals over the last 3-4 months. And I thought, right, how's this going to be like 2 of my pals? Ryan Shanley, Jack Duncan, like they've been incredible. Yeah. And people say, oh, don't hire your friends, but I've not seen any downside at all. Because I was a wee bit aware of it, thinking, right, like he's Shanley, one of my tight pals and that, like this and that, like been incredible. Yeah. Because he knows when it's a time for us to go and laugh and joke about nonsense, and when there's a time to go, right now, it's actually on to fucking to work here.
Because I think when people are giving advice about the not hiring friends piece, they think about going hiring like a bunch of fannies that aren't going to do anything.
Exactly.
Whereas, like, see, like when I think about bringing Jack on, like Jack knows me better than anyone else from a component of standards, not taking the fucking piss, being dialed as fuck. Like, he knows all of those things about me, and he knows the standard. And funny enough, like, he's actually almost like started gatekeeping, not from a client perspective, but from a team perspective, where it's like I said to Reese not so long ago, is like, you do know, like, we're going into this office, like, John is going to push you more than you've ever been pushed before. And it's like having somebody else say that, not me. It's like he knew what he was signing up for. Whereas I think a lot of times when it goes wrong with friends is that people soften the expectations. Oh yeah, it's going to be easy peasy. It's just going to be this. It's going to do that. And then they come in, they fuck up something. It's like, well, fuck. Like, I actually need to have this conversation with him now, but it's my boy. Like, how would I even draw that line? It becomes a bit of a head fuck.
I think that's probably, again, like, back to the start with, it's easier to have that because of football, but because people go on about difficult conversations. I'm having difficult conversations every week where I've had to let players go that are like unbelievable, like people and that, and you're like, if this is about keeping my pals, if this is popularity, then you'd play every week. But because of this reason or that reason, I've signed these guys, and they're a bit more experienced. They're very good at what they do. It's literally just difficult conversation after difficult conversation. At the end of training day, I'm going to have to speak to somebody probably about maybe not being in the squad for the weekend. Or I'm going to need to speak to a Monday or somebody who's no played on the Saturday. And it's almost actually getting used to, because when I first started, I thought, fucking, this isn't even, like, I'm going to have to be bad cop. And almost look, because I've done both sides. I've done the coaching before, at least in my city now, where I was a good cop, and I was like, fuck. Like, Wayne O'Neill didn't get to have all the banter and all the good conversations. I'm the one that's like, look, you got a minute, and people are like, oh, fuck. And the gaffer's like, you got a minute? Like, oh, no, this isn't it. 9 times out of 10, this is not, you're getting a pay rise. This is, look, I'm going to go with something different at the weekend. And it's actually just getting comfortable with uncomfortable conversation. And that's 100% helped with my business. If there's something I'm not happy about, I know I can just be like, look, Ada and Ryan, you got a minute? I need to speak to you about this. Look, that wasn't great. Like, you fucking turned up late or this or that we've never actually had to do. It's like, look, I need to have a conversation with you as your boss, if you want to call that, rather than actually your pal. But the football's helped massive that, because it's just continually difficult conversations all the time.
How did you overcome that, like, hump of, like, actually doing it? Because I think that's the most important, or that's the part that most people struggle with, is they just don't know how to actually start doing it, and they shy away from it.
I think that you have your own rule, that you always know what, that you can do this or you can do that. You know what the right thing to do is, and you just need to do it. Like, we had one at the weekend where one of the strikers has come back from injury. He could give me 20 minutes, half an hour maybe, and I knew that. But then I'm having to leave a fully fit player out of the squad. So the shite bag thing to do is to go, look, you're not fully fit, so we'll leave you till next week. And he probably been like, fair enough, Gav, we were disappointed, but that's fine. I'm going, that's not the right thing. Like, I've literally not got a striker on the bench. I need him. I'm going to have that difficult conversation. And we decided as coaches, we have so many chats, and I'll go, right, what do you think? We'll bring it all together. I'll always make the final call, but I'll go, right, what is the best thing to do this? It might be the hardest conversation, but I think the worst thing you can actually do as a manager is get a reputation of somebody that's scared to have those conversations. If something needs to be said, then you just need to go and have out. And I think as long as you go about it in a respectful way, boys haven't really got an issue with it. But if you ask what the best of, you just need to do it. You just need to literally call the person over and say, you got a minute, stand in front of them, then it's almost they're looking at you as if say, right, and you go, I need to say it now, eh? Like, I can't say anything else. You just go, listen, I need to chat to you. This is what I'm going to do. And the same as that, the more you do it, the easier it gets.
100%, mate. Because I look at my mum, like, paralegal, they had to do, like, debt collection. Like, she's on, like, court mediations, and she's got a client that's owed, like, $5,000, and some consumer that's, like, fucking kicking up all sorts, and, like, she has to just, like, mediate it. And it's so funny. I think, like, the one piece of advice she gave me in regards to, like, when you're actually going and having that difficult conversation, if you're, depending on what end of the scale you are, so whether you soften it. So if you soften it, like, almost like getting as fucking clear as possible on, like, what you actually need to say so that you can harden it, so, like, getting clear on it. Or the flip side, if you're typically somebody that will deliver something in a really hard and harsh fucking way, writing it all out in paper and then asking, like, how do I soften it? And, like, when I look at, like, I was chatting to Lawrence about this. Lawrence was he always softened things. So you would have to always get clear on exactly what he was going to say, because he would fucking soften it. Whereas my mum, it's funny, like she'll be on mediations and she's writing down like fucking cunt, bitch, just like writing it, just getting it all out of her head so that she can just like actually be professional about it, like actually like carry out in a way that you actually need to. And I think that spectrum piece, I've learned so much from my mum about conflict that I like at 19 years old, when you come into business, it's like you have no fucking choice but to have those difficult conversations, and you have no choice. You can't shy away from it. The same way in football, there's only 11 players that can play, but you need a squad of what?
100. 2021. You need to keep them all happy.
Yeah,
and it's hard. It's like adapting to it, and it's like you can't say if you go and tell everybody what is on your mind the second it's on your mind, you'll have no business, no football team, no pals, no misses, no anything. Like you need to know. But I think also know what I'm like, and I know I'm like when I think something's not quite right with somebody, I'm like, if I leave it, and I'll leave it another couple of instances, I will lose my rag.
Yeah. So
it's like, right, it's almost like, look, John, I'd rather speak to you now. So I think if you do it again a couple of times, I'm going to go mental, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
So like, look, give me 5 minutes or 2 hours. We'll chat about it now. You say what you think, I say what I think, and then at least by the end of the conversation, we'll know. Yeah. We'll know like where each other stands, rather than actually bottling things up a bit, and then it actually turns into an argument.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When there's no need for it.
Because I think the boiling up point's fucking so real, mate. Because I think in business too, because you're shying away from difficult conversation, maybe it's like an ego thing where you meet somebody that's a bit further ahead and you think they know better, so you don't bring up maybe something that's concerning you, but then you witness it happen again and again, and eventually it comes to fucking boiling point where you end up just fucking spew it all out, and you deliver it in a really harsh way. Whereas if you just if you actually had the conversation at the start, it would be in a really it would be a calm demeanor, and all it takes is like, say for me, for example, what used to happen is like I used to get a lot of headaches and migraines, especially when I first started like in the kind of business side of things. And it's like, all it would take is like maybe something would happen maybe Monday, Tuesday, and I'd be like, that's kind of jarring, but fuck it, I'll deal with it later. And then Wednesday I'd have a sore head and it'd happen again, and I'd fucking lose my shit. And it's like the variable there is the sore head, but it's also the fact that I've delayed having the conversation. Yeah, by delaying the conflict, it's just multiplied and became way worse.
It does. It just makes everything worse, and you're better off if you've got something to say. You don't, like I said, it's that you don't need somebody to agree with. You just need to go, do you understand my point of view? If they go, nah, I do understand your point of view, go, well, you can almost just leave it there then.
Yeah.
There's no, like, we don't need to keep talking before I get you to agree, because you might never agree.
Yeah.
And the chances are, if it's like footballers dropping a player, they will never agree because they think they are better than the person you've picked. It's going, right, can you understand why I've done that? No, I understand. I go, well, that's almost an internal win for me, that I go, he understands why I've done it. And then the two of us can just shake hands afterwards. Because you're wanting that. There's loads of guys I've met that don't play for me anymore and that, but we have a good relationship because they know that when they were under my care or whatever what you call it, I treated them well. And there might be guys that work for me now who might move on somewhere else and they'll be the same thing. There's no bad blood between it. It's just like when I worked for him or when I played under him, he was a good guy. He'd done his best. He didn't belittle me. He didn't try and be the big I am and talk down to me like that. He tried to treat me the right way. And I think if you do that with people, because that's what you'd want somebody to do with yourself. Yeah. I think a lot of time it does come down to that. Eh?
Do you think someone that maybe, I think it's funny because I think in football, because of the numbers, you have no choice but to have those conversations every single week. Whereas maybe someone that's young in business, they are maybe a bit of a people pleaser. They want people to agree all the time. Would you have any advice towards that component?
I think you always know, eh? Like, I think like that's kind of the biggest thing, that in anything in your life, you can speak to, I can speak to 10 people about a business decision, a personal decision, and I can get all this information and I go, right, I decide what I'm doing. And I think then, and you go a walk or you go and spend a bit of time yourself after that, you know, and you then know what the right decision is yourself. Yeah. And you go, right, you can get all this information about what you want to do, but then you go, right, what do I want? And if the answer is I want to do this, you then just need to put your big boy pants on and say, right, this is what I'm going to do.
Because I think as well, either that, whether you make the decision now, eventually your hand's going to get forced is what I've started to recognise as well. So it's like, if you keep on a team member that isn't pulling their weight, but then as a result of them not pulling their weight, the ROI on their salary, like you start to look at the numbers and you're like, well, we're not making this amount of money, and you know, this isn't really making sense, and like, and then it gets to a point where you start losing out in cash, and as a result of losing out in cash, maybe the business starts operating a bit of a red zone. You're not in profit every single month anymore, and it's like, well, fuck, if I don't fucking make a decision now, we're fucked. So you have to, because there's urgency there. Whereas when you knew back 6 months ago or 3 months ago or even a month ago, you just made it then, it would have served you fucking 10 times more.
And I think, like I started a partnership with somebody in a different area, and I thought, this boy's brand new, like this boy's incredible, like great work ethic, Evan, we got on really well. And he just started hearing little things. And I've got a coaching team, we all get on, because how can you not get on?
Yeah.
Like it's football coaching. We've all got the same interests, and you just hear wee things, and you're going, piss that person off, he's pissed that person off. I'm like, nah, it's fine, it's just the way I'm just the way I'm. And he's like, right, he's pissed Kerr off. I'm like, right, Kerr's no time to get pissed off, he's the most laid back man ever. Yeah. So I'm like, right, I need to go and speak. And it's a couple of conversations, right? I need to speak to you about this, I need to speak to you about that. Eventually, it then gets to the point where even a couple of coaches from teams are saying this and that, and you're like, right, I now really need to speak to you. And I got to a point, actually, I remember coming back from holiday and he decided he was leaving. And I think when he said that, I was just like, look, that's fine. I think he was a bit taken aback, being like, almost like, you're not going to fight for it. I was like, nah, like the warning signs were there. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like people like close to me were like, this is happening, that's happening. And it's almost hard because on paper, any session anyway is like, I'll do that. His quality standards were really, really good. Yeah. We just start hearing stuff. He said this person, that person, that. And I think if I was that maybe a year and a half ago, if I was in the position then as what I'm now, I would have had that conversation before with him to say, look, this isn't working. Let's actually just stay pals. Let's get on well, but let's just go our separate ways because this isn't right for the business. You know what I mean? It's having that. And that's probably the biggest learning curve that I had, where I thought, he's made that decision. I should have made that decision 3 months before. Again, it's having it internal, but other people doing, oh, it is what it is. But you have that wee thought process yourself where you go, right, what should I have done? And the answer is, you shouldn't have given it as a big I am to say, I'm just going to get rid of him. But saying, I'm going to have that conversation that's maybe not very nice, but I'm going to have that big boy conversation with him.
Yeah, I love that because I think, I know you've started reading Traction.
Yes.
The next book will be How to Be a Great Boss, which by the sounds of things, but you already do a lot of stuff in the book from the football coaching side of things, but like just from like what you've learned on that piece. But there's a component of that book which I love, which is like, if you follow the correct steps that it speaks about in the book, by the time you get to the second or third disciplinary or even just like monthly meeting, they come into that meeting and they leave anyways. Yeah. Because you've had the conversation early enough, you've pointed out exactly what's going on, you set goals and actions, you set them a timeline. Then at the end of the timeline, you revise what has previously been discussed. If they're still not hitting the targets, then it's like, look, okay, this is the kind of, we really need to get this dialed. If it doesn't get dialed, we're going to have a conversation. Repeat the same process, give them the help they need, still don't hit the targets. By the time it gets to that point, they walk in and they say, I can't do it. Yeah. This isn't for me. And it's like, but it starts with the conversation though. If you don't, then you end up just boiling up, and then you fire somebody and they're like, why have I been fired?
It's came from nowhere, and there needs to be so many, it needs to almost be no warning signs, but you need to say, look, this is sort of stage one. I'm going to, like, we'll speak about it nicely. Or I might even, like, at times you use humour and you almost drop things into people and almost make a wee bit at the very, very first stage, make almost a bit of a joke about it. And it's a bit like, I'm joking, but at the same time, like, just be careful sort of thing. And the good ones go, all right, and think, I get it. I know what you're meaning there, actually. I need to rein in a wee bit. Yep. And then a lot of time you don't need to have conversation too. And it's just more and more every time. I think any time I look at, and a couple of times I've had to go on a Monday, no many times, maybe 2 in the last 2 years, I've actually had to apologise and say, look, I've said something on Saturday at halftime in the game, I shouldn't actually have said that. Yep. And I think boys probably aren't used to that, they're like, fucking hell, like the gaffer's actually saying, almost apologising. They're almost like, no, you didn't need to apologise, you lost your rag, that's football. I was like, I did, but I said this to you and I shouldn't have said that because that's not what I think. I've actually had to go at you personally when I'm not having a go at you personally. Yeah. And when I say that football's help business, that's probably the other way. Yeah. I think there's nothing better than actually saying, I've actually fucked up there, I've made a bit of a mistake. People go, fair enough. Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
Probably a lot is just learning myself. And probably, again, you look at probably the same as if somebody said that to me. Yeah. But after a defeat, we'll speak on a Monday and I'll always look at myself first and think, right, what did I do? Did I get the team right? Did I make this change? And sometimes I'll actually use examples and I'll say, lads, I'll take a bit of blame for Saturday because I chose to play him instead of him when the pitch was like that. And you could actually see them being like, and some people would probably sit there and go, didn't he do that? You're showing weakness. But you're not actually showing weakness. You're actually showing that you're a human being and going, I'll look at myself first. But if I'm going to look at myself, the deal is you need to look at yourself as well. Yeah. So if I just keep hitting my stick in football or business and say it's your fault, sooner or later I just go, fuck off.
And internally they know as well. Like I think
Of
like
course you do.
when we were chatting to Lawrence about this, he was like, mate, you because my problem is that I would hide things, not in terms of good things, but I would try and shield. So say I'd shield Jack from bad news.
Mhm.
So as a result, I wouldn't tell him because I wouldn't want
Yeah.
it to impact his weekend because I know he cares about it just as much as me. So say a client churns, it's like, nah, I won't tell Jack. I'll just leave it. And Lawrence is like, he'll fucking know you're off anyways.
100%,
Like, what's the point in like these kind of like different components that like. It's funny because I remember I had a conversation with Jack and Reese like a few weeks ago, and asked them to come over to mine. This was about the kind of office decision, etc. And there was a couple other things I had to run through with them. We bit of the change in partnership with Andy, etc. Which is getting announced this week publicly, so that should be fine. But the change in partnership piece, and it's like when Jack was coming over, I was like, "Did you have any inclination?" He was like, "Mate, inclination." Like, I fucking, mate, of course. Like I knew exactly what we were basically going to be fucking talking about. I literally left and I said to Mom as I was leaving, like, this is going to be an interesting conversation. And I'm thinking, I never gave anything away. Like, how the fuck do you know? And he's like, I just fucking know. Like, just I've been boys with you for over a decade. But even people that haven't been up boys with you over a decade, they can sense, like, they just maybe don't have enough proof to actually say to you, is everything all right? But people can sense a mile away, man, like that something's no right or something's going on.
100%. You get all the time and you think people go, speak of this, and you're going, how did you know that?
Aye.
And sometimes like people say that to me, you just get a wee idea and then they'll say, oh, I need to speak to you about something. They say, oh, this has happened, that's happened. And I'm going, that doesn't surprise me. And like, what do you mean? I was like, just something wasn't quite right with you. And they're going, oh, how do you know? I was like, I didn't know what it was, but you just get that vibe, and especially if you're tight with them. Yeah. You have a better idea just going, maybe that wee bit quiet or just little things. I'm normally speak to you every day. I've not spoke to you for that's 2 days. You've no phoned me, and just little things like that. You go like, is everyone all right? You know what I mean? It's mental how people you can just pick up, and a lot of it's just actually reading people, and it's deciding when, like football wise, when to go. I listened to a podcast that was Eddie Howe, and he was saying that he's like, don't go searching for problems. He's like, so if there is a little thing here or there, he's like, don't go jump in on it, because sometimes there's no need. Sometimes go, I've seen it, I'll keep an eye on it, and I'll just see how it develops a wee bit. And if it goes up a wee stage, then I'll have that chat. Because otherwise, you're just pulling people in football and business every 2 minutes, and people are like, look, let me breathe a bit. Like, I'm going to make a wee mistake, and I didn't be on me constantly. 'Cause that doesn't help MD either.
Thanks, bro. Without a doubt, mate. We've been going for like an hour and 10, an hour and 15 already. It's been fucking rapid, mate. One thing I want to round up on though is obviously the kind of stage that you're at just now. You've got 10, 11, 12 coaches working underneath at the moment. You've removed yourself from a good amount of the delivery. What's the kind of like plan moving forward?
I probably look at I think actually what we've done so far has been perfect, and it's continuing that, and it's almost fighting the urge to go back in. And I'm probably at a stage now where I just need to the things that we've sort of set out. We've invested obviously in different ways into the business, even things like Andy building a Notion and all that. Websites getting done, everything's in place. All the things we need for the social media through Nick's in place. Right, it's now action time. We just need to go and carry it out. And I think it is that point where I look at the first side of business, it was just pure graph sessions. How many sessions can you do? And it is probably turning over that wee bit where it's like, right, it's not about how many sessions you can do, it's how many sessions can the company do, but expanding, but never, ever, ever taking, like as soon as the standard drops whatsoever, you're dead. And it's understanding, right, how can I get these guys up to the standard? Because they're no full time. You know what I mean? It's easy. If we had 15 guys in office, we could get them all in for a meeting every week, or we could do a training day. It's difficult. You know what I mean? But it's trying to get everybody else up to the speed with the highest possible standard, and almost realizing that through conversations with yourself, you might invest hours into somebody, and then they might just go, that's brilliant, but I've actually got a chance of a full-time job there. And you might go, well, I've spent all this time making you a great coach. Okay, that's fine, but I've also earned you all this money in the process. You go, well, that's fair enough. And if you don't go invest that time, then what will you get from that? You'll just get a coach who's half-assed and knows good anyway.
I think I've been reading Everything is Fucked by Mark Manson, a book I read when I was 19. And like going back through that book, it's so interesting because the number one rule or the number one concept I took from the book is like never treating someone as a means to an end. So never treating someone as, I'm going to teach him how to be a coach because he's going to make me more money. It's, I'm going to teach him how to be a better coach because I want to teach him how to be a better fucking coach. It's like all the other stuff that comes as a byproduct, class, that will come anyways. But it's like your values and standards is that you want the best coaches, and that's it. That's just that's end of, it ends there. It's not necessarily about the whole, oh, it's going to result in better retention, it's going to result in better word of mouth, it's going to result in all. It's just like you're wired to have the best fucking coaches because you're one of the best coaches.
And I think it's like, don't sit down and go, right, I earn this much per month. How can I get to that much? It's like, well, improve the coaches. Yeah, but I need to get to that. And it's like, well, no, but if that becomes better, that will happen as a result. Same in football. If you become a better footballer, you will get more money from the game because people look and go, right, he's at that level and he's shit hot. I'm going to pay him to go and play for me. It's the same thing. It's trying to expand, try to take myself out the business in terms of day-to-day stuff because it's very difficult. Like we spoke at the start, there's 5 of us working. If I'm one of them working, the other 4 guys might be making wee errors here and there, but I'm not seeing it because I'm working here with wee Murray and I'm invested into Murray's sessions. I don't know what the other guys are doing. And it's almost saying, well, take that step back and just try to get the balance right. But in terms of, I've got a clear vision in terms of where I want it to go. And then it's just breaking it down. It's just, like we're saying, just the daily, just make my life as boring as possible this year. Because the more boring my life is, the better it is.
The more cash you make.
Exactly.
That's fucking class, bro. Well, in terms of like where people can find you, you don't necessarily do any like personal brand content. Is that maybe coming in the future?
It might be. It's maybe something we can chat about. I've got the drone now.
Yeah, you got the fucking drone. Just like a drone up there.
I've got the drone, I have a mic and a camera, but I don't know how to fucking link the 3.
Yeah, no, I feel that, bro. I feel that. But where can people find you,
mate? My own social media is just Liam Buns, so Instagram's Liam Buns Coaching, and then Technical Edge is just Technical Edge Coaching Academy. We're on Instagram, Facebook, we're on TikTok, but that needs a bit more actual focus again. But it's part of the weekly meeting, so that's where we are.
Awesome, mate. I appreciate that, bro. Well, thank you so much for
coming on, bro. Thanks very much.
Honestly, mate, it was good to shoot the shit. Like, once again, another like dynamic, different episode where it's like we brought in the football component, which I fucking love. So being able to get the crossover, it's been fucking class. So thank you so much, brother. Appreciate it.
Top man.
Trips, if you're on YouTube, obviously we've got podcast episodes at the moment rolling out weekly. We've been seeing the views going up, been seeing the feedback. You're loving the fucking podcast. Let's do as many as we possibly can. So obviously be sure to let us know if there's any guests that you want us to bring on. Subscribe if you haven't already. And if you're on Spotify as well, Trips, make sure you're following for the weekly episodes. And as always, Trips, have an incredible day.
I've also given it a big one about how many views I'll get, so people better watch this one.